probably like the fact that like how much he like loves skateboarding, and like Millersville, that was like a non-profit pretty much, and he still like came together and like put a park in like this garage, and like down at Denver, like they weren't really looking for parks, but like he still like made it happen and like made them want parks.
How about you? What's your favorite thing about Matt?
Well, I don't know. He's just like fun to be around, and like he's always like there for me. Like I'm not his son, or like not related to him at all, but he treats me like his son, and like it's cool to like have someone like older and like an adult like that can drive you around, and like you can like don't have to worry about him like being bored at the skate park. Like he actually skates, and he's not just sitting there watching you.
My name's Matthew Arment, and I live in Denver, Pennsylvania. I was born and raised here.
On the one hand, you got the love. The other hand, you got the love. A breastbone at the center is how that you claim yourself. Your forehead smacks the wall as you try to enter. It's really
I started skateboarding in, I want to say, mid-'80s. I was into BMX. I liked riding BMX. I raced, and my parents had a place in Lewis, Delaware at the beach, and I was like super into surfing. Like skateboarding was like the next thing closest to surfing. I remember one time I saw these guys. We were at a movie theater, and there were these dudes, and they were riding skateboards, and they were riding these like big skateboards, and they were wearing like jam shorts and like high top Vans, shirtless, and they were just like, there was this ledge there, and they would just like run and jump off the ledge and then like land on it and like tic-tac away. And I'm like, dude, to me at the time, they were like the epitome of cool. I'm like, that's what I want to do. This is not my first skateboard, but this is exactly what my first skateboard was. It was kind of like a 70s toy. You didn't do anything on a skateboard like this. But Shane, my best friend, I can remember it like it was yesterday, and this can go down in the history books. He invented an ollie. Like he did it before I saw anyone. Like we could maybe kick turn and maybe turn on this thing, but like we were in the grass patch at my parents' house, and he was standing on it, and he was like pressing down on the tail, and he was like pushing up on the front of it, and he was like getting this high in the air. And I'm like, dude, you're like, it's almost like you're doing a bunny hop. To us, there was no such thing as an ollie. There was no such thing as fucking grip tape. That's where like skateboarding became this like really magical thing to me at a very early age. And I got so into skateboarding that like my dad built a ramp in the backyard.
He had the love of skating, and of course they weren't supposed to skate on the street. So we made other alternatives.
Put the half pipe in the backyard, and it was fun because his friends were here. We knew who he was with, what they were doing.
And when they were here, our friends would say they questioned about building a half pipe, and why would we do that? I said, well, when they're here, we know where they're at and we can control it, and they're not supposed to be on the street. So, you know, we let his friends come just as much as they wanted to skate at a safe place.
The neighbors thought they were crazy. Like, what are you doing? You know, like we built this thing, and it was 8 feet wide. The one side was 9 feet tall. The other side was 8 feet tall, and it had a channel, because we were like, it should have a channel, because like all the vert ramps, like, how are you gonna, you gotta do an air over the channel. It was ridiculous. The channel was maybe, I don't know, I remember it being this wide, because like if you're gonna go in the channel, you could kind of put your hands on the coping and steady yourself, and that was like the start. Like we didn't drop in on it, we would roll in the channel. Like, then I got like another friend, like someone, Alan Dans, he like moved to Cocalico, and he came from Texas. He knew how to ride a ramp, and he was like, oh, well you can like tail drop in this thing. We're like, man, are you kidding me? Like, we have a channel. There's no reason, like, it was just like, again, like our eyes were being opened to something that we had, and he had like Thrasher magazines and like punk records and stuff, and all of a sudden, like, from him, I learned a culture, like, started to learn like a culture of skateboarding. Shane, he was like my best friend, but he was like a little bit more, he knew more about music and stuff. So, you know, we started listening to like his dad's records, and we listened to like classic rock and stuff, and it was like, we listened to Led Zeppelin and Rush and Yes and stuff like, we were still like unturning stones and stuff, but like as far as like the skateboarding culture, when some of these other guys moved here, then it just kind of, it brought like a new wave of stuff with it. When I first started playing the drums, I played in school. I wanted to play an instrument, you know, when I was in 4th grade, like, what instrument do you want to play? And I wanted to play the drums. And like, again, my parents were like they were like super parents. They were like, okay, we'll get you, you know, you get some extra lessons, and then you can like, you know, maybe get a kit, you know, if you're into this. You know, you had to like show that you were into it. They weren't like, well, we're gonna go and buy a drum kit. It was like, well, no, let's you know, learn your rudiments and see if you can, you know, prove that you know, it was just cool. And then finally I started playing the drum kit. And around that time, like music, when I got into playing drums, I don't think I was really into skateboarding yet. So it was like when I first got into drumming, it was like, I want to play like John Bonham. I want to learn how to play like Led Zeppelin stuff. Like punk, like when I got into like punk stuff, by that point, when I got into punk stuff, I wasn't really into the drumming. It was like the culture. It was like this grit and like angst that came with it that like I liked, but I didn't like necessarily form my musicianship like after punk, you know, especially with Shane, because Shane doesn't like punk. Shane wouldn't be caught dead listening to 3-chord punk. Like he's just like, he's in like classic rock or like something that's like progressive and stuff. Like, I don't know, at the time it wasn't, you didn't really set your, you didn't have these like, well, we're a progressive band and that's what we're gonna play. We'd get together and, you know, get some cheap beer and we would just like try and write songs. And that was like, as fresh as like skateboarding was, as like just trying to figure something out. It was like, fuck, we're writing a song. It's like, I'm writing I don't know what I'm doing right now, but like, let's keep doing this because this is like fun, just figuring something out, you know. It wasn't, and we knew that when we started playing music that we weren't maybe like a cover song because everybody maybe could learn it because you're not gonna, but like overall, like we wanted to write our own songs, like period, like, and that was like fresh, and I mean that in like, it was just like really entertaining. It was something that you could like see yourself like getting really into. Like, why would we waste our time like playing other people's songs? Like, we want to create something. So it had this like whole creative thing that just seemed like it had like no cap on it, you know. I don't know. It was just, we were just trying to make up something that didn't necessarily sound like a cover song. You know, we'd play at the talent show, and then we, you know, then you meet people from other school districts. Well, there's a show over here, and then like it was kind of that same thing where now we're like learning about other people and their tricks, their songs or their band or their sound or what music, you know. Like all of a sudden it like opened the doors. Like, oh wow, there's more bands out there than the 3 shitty bands at our school. It's like, wow, these guys are doing something else, and like, you know, it just opened your eyes. And then you'd, you know, and then in years to come, you'd start traveling, and we'd go to Philadelphia or State College, and now our new band, you know, after our high school band, our next band, we're or band after that, we're playing shows. We're playing in a fire hall. We're going there next Friday night, and it was just really, really cool. It was, you'd go, you'd hear new music, you'd meet new people, and I had a van, and there'd always be anybody who wanted to go with, because yeah, sure, there's room in the van. There'd be 15 people in a van, band equipment, 7 skateboards and a launch ramp. So when we'd get to those shows, we were just like, yeah, like we were like stoked beyond our means. We just like, it was so cool, and it wasn't like we were never. It was like skateboarding. Like nobody in there ever thought there was a future in it, or a professional or a sponsorship or anything. It was just like, this is rad. Like this makes me feel really good, and like I don't care. I'm gonna do this. Like I don't care if I get arrested. I don't care if they don't want me. I'm doing this. And like playing in a band was like this same thing. It was just like. My first band was Fresh Baked, and then it was Sinatra 65, and then Dutchland Diesel is our band now. We've been playing for 25 years. When we get in the van and drive to a show, it's as childish as it was when it was 1994. You know what I mean? It was just like it's like when we went to the skate park today and we're like cruising around. I'm doing the same 3 tricks that I've done for the last 20 years, and like I'm having a blast. It's awesome. I got into concrete about 25 years ago. I was out of high school. I was going through some jobs. I was irresponsible. I was just, kind of being a loser. I didn't go to college. I was just, whatever, playing music and skating and partying. And I started working at a concrete place, and I liked it. I thought concrete was cool. I didn't understand it. It was like, it wasn't clay. It was like something that, you make all this stuff out of. And it was a precast place. They would build like these things that they would use for structures. And I ended up like making some concrete coping there that we put like on my friend's ramp. And it was kind of like, oh, this is cool, I worked there. I probably worked at, 4 or 5 different like concrete places, like learning more skills, doing different things, learning how to form and shape. And during that time is like also when I'd see what was going on like in the Northwest with the guys at Burnside and stuff. I'm like, oh, these guys are like, they're like pouring concrete, but they're starting to do all this like cool stuff. Like they were doing something that at the same time was like, yeah, I want to do what they're doing. And you just get like little snippets of it, I knew what kind of concrete I was doing, but I'd like see a picture or a video of them like, oh dude, they're like, they're using these special tools, and they're doing it, and even to this day I think that is Burnside the most popular skate park in the country? Or FDR, like some of these like DIY parks, they were like the bases of like in the early 90s that like it was this whole mentality. They were just like, no, we're doing it. It was so rad to witness just from like a distance. When I saw what like Mark Hubbard and Red Scott were doing, I was like, dude, those guys are like, that to me was like being a kid and seeing a Bones Brigade video. Yeah. Like I get seriously stoked on concrete, and I get seriously stoked on skateboarding. It's like, it's the same thing. Like it's like landing something, especially if you're doing something that you don't know what you're doing. Like if you're trying to do a skateboard trick or something and you're not sure what you're doing and you do it, you're like, yeah. If I get a concrete project and I'm like, man, I'm not sure how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna like form up this weird thing, and and you do it and you pull it off, you're like, yeah, dude, that was rad, that worked out. Like, I really liked when I saw Spike Jonze, and he was talking about like the way his career went and how he would get into something and he didn't know what he was doing. He's like, it was almost like a skateboard trick, He's like, yeah, they gave me like, told me to get a camera, and I just kind of figured it out, and it was rad because I figured it out. I was like, that's what makes you tick, you know? Like when you don't know, I don't want to be like, well, I know how everything works, and this is, it's like sometimes that like guess, where you're guessing or something, you're like, yeah, you're figuring shit out. Skateboarding to me, it's some sort of magic. It's expression, it can be humiliating, but more than anything, like when I step on a skateboard and I just kind of like leave it behind and don't worry about like what I'm doing. It's a time machine. It's skateboarding is life. It's a fucking hard question, Chris. What is skateboarding? Man, what is skateboarding? Well, it's an action sport. Like, oh, dude, this is the one thing I didn't get to talk about. If I can just, well, it's rolling. Like, I went to Woodward and to go pick up the boys. I get there, I fill out the waiver, and I put the sticker on my helmet. I go out, and this guy's like, "I'm sorry, but you can't skate." And I was just like, yeah. I filled out the waiver. I'm like, I have the sticker. I'm like, he's like, I'm sorry, we don't let visitors come in here and skate, you know, parents and stuff. And I was like, dude, I can skate. I'm not a normal parent. I'm not like a dad coming in here wearing Vans that wants to see the terrain that I'm like, dude, I skate all the time. I'm like, I take these boys to skate parks. I'm like, I build skate parks. I'm like, give me a test right now. I'm like, I can skate. And he's just like, and I'm like, do you skate? And he's just like, no, I don't. I'm like, you don't get it, man. I'm like, I need to do this. Skateboarding, like what is skateboarding? I have to do it. It's like this therapy thing. It's like magical to me. And there's nothing that does better for me than it. It's therapy.